Okay, let's just jump right in. Have you ever stopped to think about this weird paradox we're living in? I mean, right now, we have more data, more tech, more sheer brain power than literally any other time in history. And yet, when you look at our biggest, most urgent global problems, it feels like we're just stuck, completely stuck.
So, what gives? That's really the central question of our time, isn't it? And it's exactly what we're going to dig into today. Why is it that with all this stuff at our fingertips, our big attempts to collaborate on things like, say, climate change, they just hit a wall? Well, the source material we're breaking down today makes a really bold claim. It argues the problem isn't our tools, it's the entire way we've been taught to even think about working together.
And this really lays out the choice we're facing, right? On one side, you've got the old way. You know the one. It's teamwork that's, well, it's really just competition wearing a different outfit. It's all about ego, top-down hierarchy, and that little voice in everyone's head asking, yeah, but what's in it for me? And then, on the other side, you have this totally new idea, a new paradigm built on a genuinely shared purpose, on synergy, and on the health of the entire planet.
So, okay, how do you even start a shift that big? It sounds massive, right? Well, this framework argues that before we can even touch our external, global systems, we've got to do some work on our internal ones first. We have to rewire ourselves. It all begins with changing how we see ourselves, and really our place in the world. And this brings us to the absolute core idea, something called conscious collaboration. Now look, this isn't just about being a bit nicer in your weekly meetings. No, this is a whole different ballgame. We're talking about people actively working to dissolve the boundaries that usually separate us. Things like what company you work for, what political parties support, what country you're from. And the whole point is to operate with one single shared goal, a sustainable planet. It's a radical move away from that me-first thinking that powers so much of our world.
When we talk about letting go of your ego, it can sound kind of passive, maybe even weak. But that is not how it's framed here. Instead, it's described as being courageous, selfless, and willful. See how that completely reframes the whole idea? It means giving up your personal agenda for the good of the group isn't a loss. It's an incredibly powerful, active choice you're making for something way, way bigger than yourself.
And hey, this isn't just some vague, feel-good idea. It's actually built on 5 really solid pillars. First, you need a powerful shared purpose. That's your North Star, right? It's what guides everything. Then you need active listening and true psychological safety. That's how you create a space where people actually feel safe enough to be honest, to be vulnerable, to be innovative. And finally, the whole thing rests on inclusivity and diversity. Because let's be real, that's the only way you're ever going to tap into the real collective genius of a group.
Okay, so picture this. You've got this group of people, and they're all operating with this new collaborative mindset. But who's in charge, right? That's a huge question. Because a new way of working, well, it's going to need a completely new kind of leader.
The answer they propose is synergistic, symbiotic, collaborative leadership. Yeah, I know it's a mouthful. So let's just break that down. Synergistic is pretty simple. It just means the team's result is way, way bigger than the sum of its parts. And symbiotic, now this one is key. It's the idea that human well-being and the planet's well-being are not separate things. They're totally inseparable. One can't exist without the other.
And this just completely flips the old idea of a top-down commander on its head. This new kind of leader is more like a catalyst, a facilitator. Their job isn't to be the boss of people. No, it's to serve the mission of the group. They're there to clear the path and help things happen, not to force them to happen through their own will.
So what does this leader actually do all day? Well, they wear a lot of different hats. They have to be a harmonizer of relationships, a mediator between groups. Think like a big corporation and a local community. They're a healer of cultural wounds that might be getting in the way, and they're a designer of ethical systems that empower everybody. Basically, they're the human glue that holds the whole thing together.
All right, so we've got the new mindset. We've got the new kind of leader. But let's be realistic for a second. How on earth do you scale something like this up to solve problems for 8 billion people? It sounds impossible, right? Well, that's where the final piece of this puzzle comes in, technology. And specifically, a new kind of AI that's designed to be a partner, not a boss. The technological heart of this whole model is this concept called AI-augmented symbiosis. And that word symbiosis is so important here. This is not about AI taking over. It's about a genuine partnership where the tech is built for one reason, to make us better at being human, to enhance our collaboration, our empathy, our collective wisdom, all for that one big goal of regenerating the planet.
I really love this metaphor from the source material. The AI isn't imagined as some boring, static database. It's described as a field-sensing organism. So think of it like a nervous system for the entire collaboration. It's constantly gathering information, sensing the needs of different ecosystems and communities, and then feeding those insights back in real time to help the actual people doing the work on the ground.
The whole system even has a name, the Synergy Engine, and it works in 4 key steps. First, it senses what's really happening on the ground, using verified data. Then it facilitates, helping different groups have better, more productive conversations. The third step, verify, is absolutely critical. It uses tools like blockchain to create a shared, unchangeable record of who did what. This is how you build real trust and accountability into the system. And finally, it helps optimize everything by pointing resources to exactly where they'll have the biggest impact.
Okay, so let's recap. We have the conscious mindset, the symbiotic leader, and the AI catalyst. So, what's the end game? If you put all 3 of these massive pieces together, what does that future actually look like? Let's zoom out and look at the ultimate vision.
And this is it. This is the big idea. The whole framework is designed to be a replicable architecture. Think of it like an operating system, a blueprint for solving huge global problems that you could apply anywhere to any major challenge. Remember that whole "why are we so stuck" problem we started with? Well, this is the proposed solution, a way for humanity to finally learn how to work together effectively.
And the results they're aiming for? Well, let's just say they're not thinking small. We are talking about genuine global unification. We're talking about balanced empowerment for all communities and efficiently getting resources and building skills where they're needed most. But maybe the most important outcome of all is that last one. A true evolution in our values, a shift toward becoming genuine stewards of the Earth.
And you know what's so powerful about this? It's not presented as some rigid, top-down, 5-year plan. It's described as a living pathway. It's this organic, evolving way to not only heal the planet, but to also heal our often broken relationships with each other. It's about bringing humanity and care back into the very fabric of how our world works.
So this whole idea, this blend of conscious collaboration, symbiotic leadership, and AI-augmented symbiosis, it really gives us a roadmap. And honestly, it's a pretty hopeful one. It covers our psychology, our leadership, and our technology. But the final question, the really big one, that's for all of us, isn't it? The plan is here. The blueprint exists. The real question is, are we ready to do the work, both inside ourselves and out in the world, to actually walk the path?